It is my pleasure now to go on and continue with the agenda and introduce our next speaker, who is Beverly Bev Benson. Now, Beverly, over her career, has had a number of leadership roles at different organizations like Aetna, Voya Financial, and ING. And she's currently the chair of the professional development at ICMCP, which is, of course, the International Consortium of Minority Cybersecurity Professionals. Now, you can tell exactly from that name what the organization does, but it is a little bit of a mouthful. So now ICMCP is called Cybersecurity, right? Which is a very good name that nicely combines two different words. What is that? A portmanteau, combining two different words into one that clearly explains what it is. And in terms of those clear explanations, what Beverly's going to be showing us today is something that I've struggled with over time, that I've seen many security teams struggle with, is how do you create a thriving team? So with that, Bev, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Frank, thank you so very much for the warm introduction. And hello, everyone. Again, my name is Beverly Benson. I'm so excited to be here and share a little bit of myself and some of my passion for cybersecurity. First, I would like to send a huge thank you to SANS and their fabulous team members like Jennifer Santiago for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts on creating a thriving team. I want to let you know that during our time together, I will share two of my favorite quotes from the late Dr. Maya Angelou. First one, here we go. My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. So let's begin and let's share some thoughts on how to build a thriving team. First, which I think is so very important, is communication. It is so important to make sure that you are communicating in a clear, concise, and effective way with your team. Make sure that your team understands your organization's business goals and objectives, and use this opportunity to share your vision for your team and how it aligns with the organization's business goals and objectives. But most importantly, how each and every member of your team plays a part in achieving that success. Now, we've all heard of the foundation of cybersecurity, the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Well, I think these terms really play a part in establishing and achieving a thriving team. Let's look at each one of these. Confidentiality. It is very important. It is vital for a leader to remain confidential about information, personal identifiable information that may apply to a specific person on your team, a situation that they may have shared with you. Integrity. You must be a person of your word. You must be a person that will do what they say they're going to do. And I understand that life happens. And so this is where you go back and you make a circle to your team member and you let them know that if you were not able to keep your word, make a meeting, deliver on a promise, offer an apology, a sincere apology, provide a brief description as to what has kept you from delivering on that, and promise to do better. People want to be treated and they want to know that they are valued and respected. Also, for leaders that are in our office, be aware of what you're portraying and what you're sending out. A leader who is always in an office with the door closed may not appear approachable by their team. So spend some time on the floor, saying hello, getting to know your team, finding out what they're doing and if there's any way that you can assist them. Now, I know because of the pandemic, we are now virtual, or some of us are virtual, but we have some awesome technology tools such as Slack, such as a Google Meet, such as an email that you can just say a quick hello. Hey, how you doing? How's your day going? Collaboration and inclusivity. Everyone on your team has a voice and should be encouraged to share ideas. Encourage neurodiversity among your team, which is the sharing of different ideas and perspectives. The field of cybersecurity is big enough for everyone to play a part. Most importantly, it will take a collaborative team to secure our organization's infrastructure, systems, technology, and data. Well, resilience. Resilience is a big one because the cybersecurity landscape is constantly changing and breaches are occurring at an alarming rate. But as a leader, it's important that you exhibit resiliency and encourage your team to do so. So we'll take some hits along the way, but we've got to be willing to bounce back with a fervor that says we will never give up. We will learn from our mistakes. We will learn from the mistakes of others, and we will do our best. Timely and actionable feedback. I like to use the SMART method, which is specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-based. By that, I mean your team needs to receive feedback from you on a regular basis. And it's so important that you be specific to say, on Monday, I noticed that you did blah, blah, blah well. Here is how it impacted the team. Here's how I received it. But in the event that there's an opportunity for them to improve, be specific about the action that you observed. Be specific about how it impacted you and or the team. Share with them some actionable ways in which they can improve. Make sure the information is relevant to the time in which you're having this conversation. And give them some time, give them a time-based line of when you expect improvement, whether it's going to be within 30 days, within 60 days, within 90 days. But most importantly, check in with your team and make sure that any feedback that you have given them, they understood. This one is my favorite. Be a motivator. Be a motivator. This is going to require you to get to know your team and learn what motivates them. It may be praise. Genuine, of course. It must be genuine because people do not like individuals that are not honest and genuine. It could be a simple thank you. Maybe a handwritten note of appreciation. It could be an e-card. But motivate your team. Keep them excited about what they're doing. Keep them excited about our drive and our desire to remain secure in this field. And the reality is there will be some problems along the way. But what if you encourage group problem solving? So you as a leader, instead of coming down and saying, here's what we will do, and this is how we will solve that. What if you brought in and you shared in a way to your team that everyone has an opportunity to learn how to problem solve. Give them the tools and the techniques to solve a problem as a group. Accountability, very, very important, not just for your team, but for you as a leader. You are accountable for the success of your team. Be present, be willing to learn, be willing to say if you don't understand something or if you don't have the answer, be willing to be honest and be vulnerable. Growth and development. As members of the cybersecurity workforce, it's vital that we commit to becoming lifelong learners. Your team members are going to work hard for you each and every day to meet business goals and objectives. Please make time to play hard as well. While teams may be virtual, as I said before, there's still ways to celebrate successes, have a good laugh, and build a strong community. Some examples are virtual happy hour. Everyone bring their favorite drink. Mine is a protein shake, of course, a cup of tea, cup of coffee, my favorite soda pop. What about sending out e-cards? What about having a baby photo contest? Or we're embarking on the fall season and we have Halloween for those who celebrate it. What about having your pets in a really cool Halloween costume? And you send that information in. Again, we have technology. It can be virtual. You can email it. You can take a picture on your phone, email it, and have a judging contest. I'd like to leave you with another quote from the late Dr. Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will never forget what you said. I apologize. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So take being a leader and building a team as something that you are passionate about. I am personally very passionate about cybersecurity, passionate about bringing more representation of women and minorities into this field. And you also can help us by doing that. Thank you.
Hey, Bev. Hey, thank you so much for your insights. Love the quotes and words of wisdom from some people that have inspired you and inspired a lot of us over the years as well. And hey, I just want to go ahead and encourage everybody here in the audience to chime in with any questions, any comments. People are chiming in. Hey, a lot of great feedback here in terms of, hey, Bev, they want to hear even more from you in terms of some of these lessons learned. And you mentioned a number of great tools. You talked about the SMART approach. You talked about building teams, giving your team members techniques to solve their own problems. And from this perspective, let's go ahead and talk about the SMART approach here. And we've seen the SMART approach typically be applied to things like performance goals, your annual goals, your individual development plan, and so on. Can you expound a little bit more on, how you best use the SMART approach?
Sure. So in giving feedback, I like to be able to have almost like a plan, and I will write down notes for myself so that when I am providing feedback to an individual, I'm almost following step by step so that I'm not all over the place. And this person can follow me. I can assure them and that the time spent together will be well spent. So I like to write down the specifics. Specifically, what am I providing feedback on? Is it something that I have observed? Is it something that I want to congratulate them on? Is it something that I want them to do better? Measurable. Have they exceeded my expectations? Have they missed a deadline? How am I measuring that? Actionable. How can they do better? How can they improve? Really specific, even if it's 3 to 5 bullet points, really short bullet points, things that they can do. And as you're providing feedback, there may be things, actionable things for you as a leader that you can do. And be willing to share those things as well, things that you will do differently as a leader. Relevant. It is important that feedback that you give, relevant and timely. It's important that feedback that you give is given in a timely manner so that the information doesn't become stale or the individual doesn't have the opportunity to course correct. So make sure that your feedback is specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and timely.
Excellent. All right. Hey, one other question. Oh, I see Jarek joined, but hey, one other question before Jarek chimes in here. Santosh has a good question here. Is Bev, what's your advice on managing conflict between team members?
Yes. As I indicated, every day won't be a good day. But I think that it is very important for you as a leader, first, to carry yourself with integrity. It's important that you are mirroring the behavior that you want your team to exhibit. In the event that there is a disagreement, bring both of those individuals together first. Make sure that you have their permission to do so. Get them together and have them each in a respectful way discuss and talk about what is happening and what is it that their goal is, what should have happened. This is a wonderful time where having a process in place really works. What was the process? What should have happened? If a process didn't occur or was not in place, here's a great time to get those two to work together, create a process, come back, put that process in place, come back 30, 60, 90 days later with those two individuals, see if it's improved. And then now you have taught your team to do some group problem solving, and you can share the success with others. And that's also a form of continuous improvement.
Beverly, you talked a little bit about vulnerability. What are some practical ways people can go about demonstrating vulnerability?
Yes, I think it is a sense of being uncomfortable with realizing that you as an individual may not know everything, and being able to admit that openly to your team. You are a person just like them. And it is okay to say, I'm not familiar with that, but I'll get back to you. Or let's do some research together. And then once we have the answer, we can share it with our team. So be honest.
Great. Hey, we have a couple of related questions here from Fatima and Kurt, and it's about
Sure.
feedback. You know, a lot of times we get into some of these difficult situations at work. Hey, I see it with my kids every day. And in terms of delivering and giving feedback, what are some of the obstacles that you face in terms of giving feedback? And how do you set up a situation where maybe feedback doesn't have to just come from the supervisor, the boss, the manager?
Absolutely. This is a really good question. One thing that I think is so very important is to ask a person, are they in a place to receive feedback before you even deliver it? If someone is not in the best mood, then maybe today is not the day. So ask them first, are you open to some feedback? They will say yes or no. Hopefully they will be, because feedback is a gift. It's a gift. And so doing that, it can be uncomfortable, be specific, be respectful, and make sure that at the end, there is an opportunity to learn and grow from both ends. Ask them for their feedback, ask them what they have learned, and ask them, importantly, if there's something that you as the leader could have done differently.
Mm-hmm. Hey, before Jarek maybe chimes in here, piggybacking on feedback, Rebecca also asks, well, about feedback, motivation, improvement. Well, what if you're in a situation where, hey, your boss isn't in tune with that and those approaches that you're talking about? What's a good way to approach your boss without fear of getting fired?
Yeah, so I think that, again, we're all individuals, and that may require you to be a little vulnerable, but I say dare to dream and go for it. Everyone has an opportunity to be better and do better. Your manager or leader may not even be aware that you are viewing them in that way. So let's assume best intent, and you can share maybe during a team meeting, hey, I'd love for us as a team to really start to give each other some feedback. And here is a template that lists different ideas or different steps that we can take to ensure that feedback is always given in a way that is respectful, that is encouraging, and that's actionable.
Piggybacking on feedback, everybody takes feedback a little bit differently. Some
Yes.
people want it straight and to the point. Other people want the sandwich method. I need to hear something good in between some of these areas for constructive criticism. Do you feel as if you should tailor your feedback to the recipient, or should you have a level of consistency so nobody sees anything as unfair treatment?
Really good question. I think it's important to tailor the feedback to the person. I think at the end of that session, it's important for you as a leader to make sure that you have communicated the feedback that needs to be given. But how you deliver it depends upon your relationship and the time you've invested to get to know your employees, excuse me. And I call the sandwiching in some good feedback with some things that need to work on. I call that the scallop wrapped in bacon. Right? You want to hear I think it's important. Yes, yes, absolutely. Let them know what they've done well, and also let them know here are some things that they can improve upon, and provide them with that encouragement and that support.
Great. Yeah. Go ahead, Jarek. Sorry.
No. First, thank you for making me hungry this early in the morning. So one of the things you're talking about is growing your team. Are there
Yes.
any tips on how to recruit people that align with the culture that you're trying to establish?
Yes. I have just gone through an interview process, and it was one of the most intriguing ones, in that I had a job description that I read. I loved it. And when I had interviews, They were all on the phone, not using technology, meaning that the person didn't see my face. So they were given the opportunity to get to know me, Beverly, as a person, for the skills that I brought to the table and not for what I looked like. So if you are looking to bring on, I'll say diverse teams, make sure that your job descriptions are not looking for, I call them the kind of the fairy tale candidate. It can't be a job description for a entry level role and you're asking for a CISSP, or you're asking for, right? Or you're asking for 3 to 5 years of experience. And this is where that collaboration can take place between leaders and HR. Have the conversation so that you are actually have the opportunity to review a job description and make sure it truly represents the role that the individual will be doing.
Great. Hey, thanks for that, Bev.
You're welcome.
Another question here, really good question from Yesenia. And she says, a lot of times we find ourselves in these situations where perhaps we're not formally in a leadership position. Maybe we're not a team lead, we're not the manager, we don't have a formal title. Now, in those types of situations, well, what can you do? How can you share and kind of maybe guide the team without maybe appearing too eager or perhaps a little bit too bossy, right? What's your advice in that situation?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it is, in my opinion, that everyone is a leader in their own right. And that at different times and different situations, you're going to feel passionate about a topic. You may have more information about a particular subject. And I say, encourage yourself to say, hey, have we thought about this? Use your voice. You matter. Your opinions are important. And you never know. You never know what that can lead to. So you are all leaders. We are all leaders in our own right. Do not be afraid to speak up and share.
That is a great point. A leader is not just by title, it is also by the way you are able to influence others.
Yes.
And it's important. And I want to give a shout out and a clap. I haven't clapped on a webinar before, but thank you for calling out that leaders should play a more integral role in writing the job descriptions.
Yes.
Because when you let HR write the job description, they're going to go on the internet and find all the bad ones and recreate them. And now you're going to have entry-level roles that require unrealistic expectations. So thank you for calling that out. I have one more question for you. So as a leader, what has been your biggest struggle in executing some of the same things that you're teaching us all about?
Let me take a moment to think. And for all of you, when you're interviewed, taking a moment of silence is acceptable. To pause and to gather your thoughts. So one of the things that, one challenge that I have faced is that everyone is not ready for the change that needs to occur. By that, I mean, my passion is for cybersecurity. My passion is for getting more women and underrepresented communities in this field. And so I am a leader and I am comfortable with sharing that. Not everyone's ready for that. So I maintain my confidentiality when things are shared with me, but most importantly, I maintain my integrity. I am who I am, my thoughts are my thoughts. And so I bring my full self to work, because guess what? Everyone else is taken. So I am Beverly.
Yeah, I was just taking your advice and trying to pause there for a moment. So this is great work and life advice here. Kind of continuing on here, a lot of great questions coming in, and we probably won't be able to get to them all, but we do have some time to keep on taking some. And Jacob has a question, for those transitioning into a new field, into cybersecurity in this case, As a leader yourself, what are the qualities, skills, traits that you look for in somebody new? Where might he and others want to start? Is it certifications? How do you show prior experience without having experience? What are your tips on, hey, what do you look for as a leader? And by extension, well, what should people perhaps try to focus on when breaking into something new?
Absolutely. Really cool question. I love to talk about this. Okay, so the good thing to know is there's no right way, because there's many different avenues. Here are some things that I have found helpful, because I was a career changer to get into security. I have years of experience in IT, but I wanted to get into cybersecurity. So some of the things that I did is be willing to volunteer, help others along. When you help others, others are willing to help you. To education, for me, I did go back to school and I did get a degree in cybersecurity. However, knowledge is not only obtained in higher education. There are books that you can read, there are groups that you can join, there's free training that you can take, Cybery, Udemy, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And also internships, apprenticeships. Every internship doesn't have to be paid. Sometimes the pay is the knowledge and the experience that you get. And for certifications, I talked a little bit about this, and when we oftentimes see the job description that is looking for that, that fantasy of that unicorn candidate, certifications alone, having a CISSP, I know that it is sought after. It is the gold standard. I'm aspiring for that as well. However, there are some basic foundational information that's very important for you to know. And sometimes it's important for you to study for a certification, not to check off the box that you got it, but now that you have the knowledge. And there are also some entry-level certifications, such as the CompTIAs, the Security Plus, the A Plus, the Network Plus. They also now have a cloud certification. So I think it is it's important, I want to say that even if you're not in the field of cybersecurity, you still have some transferable skills that you may have done in another sector, whether it's financial services, whether it is working in the food industry, whether it is in healthcare, because cybersecurity impacts and touches every sector of our lives. Everywhere there's data, there's a need to protect it. So don't discount the skills you already have.
Yeah, great points. You mentioned certifications, and I've been able to get a number of them over the years. But in reflecting back, it's not so much about having those letters after my name. For me, it was more about the process and being able to learn that topic in a structured way, and so really helped ingrain it in my mind. So yeah. Yes. Before I jump to the next question, Jarek, were you about to chime in?
I did have a question, because this was such a good, well-timed conversation. There's a leader out there that's realizing, I don't embody any of this. Where do I start? Because you gave so many different things that we should work on. Is there one that they should focus on first?
First, I would say that I would be remiss if I didn't, give my shout out to Cybersecurity. We offer a mentoring program. So for those of you who need some assistance, seek a mentor. Seek a mentor so that you can list all the things that you want to work on. And you and that mentor can have a conversation as to what do you need to work on first. Give yourself some time frames. That mentor can be your accountability partner. And also, as you give your team's feedback, ask for some. And that also allows you to be a little bit vulnerable, so that where your areas are, where your gaps are. So I'd say seek a mentor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have about 5 minutes left for questions. So, I'm just going to keep going here. You mentioned Cybersecurity. So I'm going to combine a few different questions into one that have been coming in. Somebody just asked, well, how do you introduce diversity into cybersecurity, some of the best practices? And the combination here is you also asked, you mentioned earlier about asking questions, asking, what works for that person. And that's a recognition, as you said, about meeting the person where they are. So we've got a couple questions here from Brandon and Kurt saying, when you're dealing with different people, introverts, for example, hey, how would you respond when different team members don't necessarily want to get involved in your standard team building events, social events, Zoom happy hours, and so on? So how do you balance that in terms of kind of building out that team in terms of different personalities and their diverse backgrounds?
Yeah, so I think it's important to talk about the introverts. I love that. I love that term. So let's understand what an introvert is. It's an individual that oftentimes needs a little bit more time to process things. Believe it or not, I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert. And how I get through my day is if I have a meeting, that will just require me to read up on the topics that are going to be discussed, maybe take a few notes so that when I do come to the meeting, I am prepared. Everyone is different. And so here's the opportunity. Use technology again. Send out a survey. Ask your folks what type of fun activities they would like to participate in. It may not be a virtual happy hour, but for someone that's a little bit more reserved, maybe it's trivia that you email out to them and they email back to you. One game that I have played with my team in the past is a game called Getting to Know You, in which I select a person that, of course, they have to volunteer, and then I ask them to give me 3 to 5 things, random things that most people won't know about them. And then I email it to the team, give them 10 to 15 minutes to guess who it is. It gives the team an opportunity to get to know each other. And it can be a very minimal gift. I'll tell you, some gifts are fun. Like I've given someone a Mattel car. Those cool little cars, like, I want a Tesla. I want a Porsche. Okay, I want to have a Mattel one. Tesla nonetheless, Porsche nonetheless.
Very nice. Yeah, funny. There's some another question here.
Sure.
Yeah, in terms of what about these soft skills that we're talking about? Hey, you mentioned some resources, some quotes, some people to follow. People have mentioned some books. Where do people go to learn about these soft skills?
Okay. So it's interesting. Those soft skills I indicated as ways to build a thriving team. These are the same skills. I've done some research. These are some of the same skills that employers are looking for. They're looking for someone not only to have that technical background, but to be able to have those business skills. And I personally try not to use the term soft, because to me, there is nothing soft. It can have a negative connotation to it. There's nothing soft about an individual who can communicate well, an individual who is a great collaborator. So these are essential business skills that you have in addition to your technical ability or your technical aptitude.
All right, excellent. Hey, we're coming up on time. There's still a number of questions here in your Slack hallway. A number of questions on.
I'll go there next.
Yeah, on Cybersecurity and how maybe people's organizations can work with Cybersecurity in terms of finding additional candidates, finding diverse candidates.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, but hey, Beverly, we'll save that for Slack here, and I just want to go ahead and give you an opportunity to end it on. Hey, you've shared so many great tips. What's your parting last words? How would you summarize it? What should people go focus on now?
Absolutely. So in summary, first, I just want to thank you all because you made a decision to spend 30 minutes of your time with me, and you could have made a decision to spend that elsewhere. So thank you for sharing your time with me. I hope that my information has been helpful, has been encouraging, and I encourage everyone, feel free to reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that I can for you all. And also cyberseek.org is a really wonderful website that you can find out information. NIST.org, NICE.org, Cybersecurity. There's so many people and organizations that are willing to help. And I leave you with my mantra, which is dare to dream.
Nice. Thank you so much, Beverly. Virtual round of applause for Beverly, everybody. Thank you. And we will see you in Slack, see you online, and
Okay.
appreciate it.